Hello, welcome to episode 95 of A Stitch in Time. Today is Tuesday, April 9th, 2019. My name is Carol. You can find me over on Ravelry as Knitsnpurls. And if you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a private message there, or leave a comment on YouTube, or leave a comment in the Ravelry group. And I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks to all of you who did take the time to reach out this week. It's always good to hear from you and have a little chat. Welcome one and all to my little corner of the world, which happens to be the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, not too far east of Vancouver. It has been a real mixed bag of weather this week, typical spring weather. We've had sun and rain and sun, and sometimes both at the same time. The other night, I was fortunate enough to look out my kitchen window at just the right moment and capture this beautiful rainbow. Isn't that amazing? The area that I live in has been known as rainbow country, and I have seen my fair share of rainbows over the years, but it's very rare that you get to see the entire arc all at once. And I was so fortunate with my timing because just a few minutes later it had completely disappeared. Definitely seen more and more signs of spring. My dogwood tree in the front yard is starting to bloom, and the goldfinches are back. I was really excited to spot their bright yellow feathers of the males at the feeders the other day, and I've seen them a couple more times since then, so I'm pretty excited about that. Unfortunately, the weather is preventing us from doing some outside work that we want to get done, but all in good time. This week has been relatively uneventful, but I do have some knitting to show you and also take you on a little field trip later on in the episode. My furnace has just kicked on and it's making the grate on the wall vibrate. I'm going to see if I can stop that noise, so I'll be right back. I decided to wait until the furnace kicked off altogether to continue, so let's proceed, shall we? So first things first, what am I wearing? I'm actually wearing a knitted item this week. It is Dusty Road by Carol Feller, and it is knit from Malabrigo Arroyo in the Purpurous colorway, and I knit this beginning September 2017, and I finished it in February 2018. As you can see, it has a crew neck, and it's just a very plain stockinette body, but it features these lace panels that run down each side, and then as you can see, the sleeves are also lace, and they end in this broken rib cuffs, and the bottom band is also in broken rib. So it was a little cool when I got up this morning. Seemed like a sweater was a good idea, but it is getting a little bit warmer, so I think I'll be changing into a t-shirt after I podcast. Do you find yourselves, the people who are, well, I guess whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere, you are transitioning from one season to another, and I just find these days that I end up changing about 3 times every day. Start out a little cool, put on a sweater or long sleeves, and then by early afternoon I've changed into a short sleeve t-shirt, and then by evening I'm back into long sleeves. So you kind of forget about that from season to season, but that's what I've been doing every day, it seems. So I managed to finish something this week. It is my Evenings in Provence shawl that I began last week. It is designed by Lori Law and is part of her Croissant collection. This is the second shawl from that collection that I have cast on. I have the first one, Water's Edge, is waiting for yarn to finish it, so that's on hold for now. The yarn for this one is Fiber Nymph Dye Works Bedazzled in the Ode to Van Gogh colorway. And this seemed like just the perfect yarn to choose because in the pattern description on Ravelry, Lori says that this design is a nod to Van Gogh. So when I read that, I knew that this was the yarn I had to use. So yes, it's part of the Croissant collection. So it is indeed a long crescent-shaped shawl with this beautiful, beautiful lace border. This stitch kind of reminds me of fuchsias hanging from a vine. I just love it. It was a little bit tricky. You had to make sure to keep your stitches lined up when you were purling back the non-patterned row. But other than that, I think it wasn't too difficult to follow. It's very well explained in the chart. So I don't know if I can get a really good look. I'll just run it by. So it's fairly long, but shallow. I can see it wearing it with a light dress or a nice dress just around my shoulders. Whoops. You know, like this. But it's also light enough, small enough, shallow enough for my liking to wear kind of a neckerchief style, which is how I wear a lot of my small one skein shawls. So I think that looks, with a little bit of futzing, would work just fine. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this one turned out. And I was so happy with it and then I decided to cast on another shawl from this collection. And in this case, I've chosen Dusky Wing. And there's a look at it there. Sorry, black and white photos, it saves on ink. I'm sure you can all understand. And when this one came out, I actually purchased the yarn kit that it was knit from. So here are the last 3 skeins. Oops, upside down. These are the last 3 skeins from that gradient collection. And it's the Morph colorway. It's basically Lori's Ocean Wind Knit Sock Merino, but she had put this set of 6 skeins together as a little bit of a kit for this shawl. And so the first 3 are very subtle, a very subtle gradient of this aqua color. So I've just finished the first section that features this lace design. And I've got yarn hanging off in balls again, like last week or the week before. I'm just reluctant to break them till I make sure I have enough yarn for each section. One thing that, because this yarn or this pattern was knit from this yarn in the first place, the pattern actually includes where to change from one color to another. So that's very helpful. But I went up a needle size. The original was knit on a 3.25 millimeter, and I started out on that size, and then I found it just a bit too small, and so I went up to a 3.5 millimeter. And so until I'm absolutely positive that I have enough to knit the shawl as written, I'm not going to cut any ends. So you can tell a little bit. It's, see the fade from a very pale aqua to a little bit darker here. And then this will be how they proceed from there in that order. So the next 2 colors will involve this section of the shawl, and then the last color is for the edging. So I've been whipping along on this one and enjoying it very much. It's always an incentive to get to the next color or the next pattern design, or the next stitch pattern, I should say. So yeah, this has really kept my interest for the past few days. So probably, I won't guarantee it, but I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see it finished next week. That's another thing with these one skein shawls, they do work up quite quickly. If that's about all that you're knitting on, because really other than that, I've just been knitting on a pair of plain socks, and I'll show you that in a second. So last week I showed you my tea and biscuit socks, and I'm knitting from this yarn, which is Ancient Arts, their fingering sock in the tea and biscuits colorway, which I just adore. And then I'm doing coordinating heels, toes, and cuffs from this yarn, this color, and it is Midnight Cravings Sweet Sock in the Amethyst Brooch colorway. That's left over from a shawl that I knit, and I keep forgetting the name of it. I know I wrote it in underneath a couple of weeks ago. I don't know why I have such trouble remembering what it is. It's not that it's relevant to this pattern, it's just that it's in my head. Anyway, so since I showed this to you last, I actually finished the sock right up to the ribbing, bound it off, and you know, I kept looking at it and thinking it seemed shorter than my normal socks. And then I measured and it was like the same, and I thought, okay, I guess it's the same. But when I actually put it on a sock blocker to take a picture of it, and I still have that picture up on my Ravelry projects page, I realized that it was shorter than my normal sock, and then I realized how I had goofed. So normally I knit my socks from the top down, and when I do a short row heel, I will knit until my whole leg section is 8 inches, and then I do my short row heel, and then I carry on. So this time I had 8 inches, you know, in my head, and so I finished the heel, and I was knitting the leg, and I measured for 6.5 inches, and then I began my ribbing to do 1.5 inches of ribbing. And I even measured a couple times to make sure, because it just didn't look right, and this is why I realized what I did wrong. So this is my sock ruler. It's a great little invention. I don't know where it's available from. Oh, it says right on here, www.sockruler.com. This is a really handy tool for knitting socks. I especially find it handy when I am trying to knit a pair of socks for someone's foot other than my own, because I can put this in and measure from the back of the heel. I'll do it this way so it measures. So I'll know it's from the back of the heel, it's so much, and then I know where to begin my toe. So this is how I goofed up this time, is instead of measuring from the end of the heel up the leg, I did this. I put this on the sock ruler, and then it said 6.5, and then I started my ribbing and did 1.5 inches of ribbing and bound it off. And so yes, it was 8 inches, but it was 8 inches from the heel, not from here. And I really thought about just leaving it because, you know, a little shorter sock isn't the end of the world, but I really, really, really love this yarn so much, and I really want to wear them, and I have a feeling that if it's shorter than I like, the socks will end up getting passed over when it comes time to choose a pair in the morning. And so I decided to take out the ribbing, rejoin the yarn, and start knitting again. So I'm going to work this up to, I have to think about what the appropriate length will be. It'll be 6.5 inches from this point, and then I will do my 1.5 inches of ribbing and then call it done. And as you can see, I have cast on the toe for the other sock, so then I can pick that up when I'm finished this one. So yeah, a little bit of a delay, but in the end I think I will definitely be happier with it. So it's worth it. And that's it for what I've been working on. I've been very monogamous. I guess if I have 2 projects, that's not entirely monogamous, but or 3 projects. I really worked pretty steadily on this shawl till it was done. I knit a little bit on the sock when we were watching curling on TV, when there were times when this was too complicated. But then other than that, I worked through, finished this, and then began the other shawl. And so really, that's all I've been working on, is the socks a little bit and the shawls mainly. So it doesn't make for a lot of knitting content for an episode, but I actually have finished projects. It's amazing how fast things work up when you actually work on them. There's one more thing I meant to mention about this shawl. So as I was knitting along, I think it was around the time when I finished the first of the flower motifs, I was looking at how much yarn I had left, and I was nervous about having enough to finish off the chart. And so I weighed my yarn, and then I did a couple of more rows and weighed it again and determined that no, I was not going to have enough yarn to finish the entire chart. The chart finished after the 3rd of 3 flower motifs. So I determined that I would knit 1 more flower motif and then bind off, because you couldn't really do a half a motif. So I was kind of disappointed, but not really. Actually, it's a really good size, so I don't mind in that sense. And then I actually looked closer at the pattern and realized that the sample actually only has 2 flower motifs on it. So I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if the designer just added an extra repeat in case you had enough yarn to do it. I didn't see anywhere where it said that the sample only used 2, so I'm going to touch base with Lori and ask her about that. But I looked on Ravelry. There are a couple other projects that do have 3 motifs, but I'm not sure exactly how much yarn they took. I didn't look that closely. In any case, I'm happy with how it turned out. But yeah, I had a little bit of a uh-oh moment when it's like, oh, I want to be able to finish it. As for what I've been reading, I've carried on with my Agatha Christie books. The Hollow, I know I've read this one at least a couple of times, and I have a vague recollection of sort of what happens, but I've only just begun. So far it's not super familiar to me, and I'm sure there is a lot that I will have forgotten. It will be interesting to see if I'm able to pinpoint who done it from memory, or if she'll fool me again. It's been a lot of years since I've read it, so I really don't remember a whole lot. So anyway, that's my reading. Nothing too heavy. I don't really want something really heavy when I go to bed at night, which is when I do most of my reading. Also, if it's too intriguing, too good, I won't want to put it down and go to sleep. So these are just perfect for before bed reading. Okay, so that brings me to what's going on around here this week. Well, I guess it was fortunate. Last week I was hoping for rain so that we wouldn't have to go to ball Wednesday night after the podcast, and before I'd even finished the processing the podcast, I got word that the city had closed the fields, so there was no ball. So no rain dance was necessary, but thank you to any of you who did perform one on my behalf. We have a late game this coming Wednesday, and we'll have to see how the weather cooperates then. It's going to be, I think our game's at like 10 after 9, which is far too late for my liking, but we lost a few fields last year that were available to our league, and so they've put, instead of 2 different starting times, now we have 3 different starting times. So you do get a few really late games during the year. So maybe it's good we get them over, at least one over with at the beginning of the year. So anyway, we'll see. And I don't think I mentioned that our son-in-law is joining our team this year. So that's going to be kind of fun to have him there. And I'm sure that some of the earlier games and in the better weather, our daughter will bring the grandkids along to watch too. So that's kind of fun. That's going to be good. We've, I don't play. I keep score. My husband plays, and we've been part of this team for, it must be close to 25 years now. We joined, I think, when our youngest was probably 5 or 6, because we met the people who run the team through Beavers when our son was in Beavers and their son was in Beavers. And so it may be like 23 years now, 24. And we used to bring our kids along to all the games, and so it just would be kind of neat to see that continue with the grandkids. So it's kind of neat. On Thursday, Jessica, our daughter, phoned me up in the morning and asked if I wanted to join her and our youngest granddaughter, Emily, on a little outing to the Heron Reserve. So one of our city's treasures is the Great Blue Heron, what's the whole word? Great Blue Heron Nature Reserve. And we have a colony of herons that come back and nest every year in this area near one of the rivers that run through our community. And they've set up a visitor center, and there's trails and a viewing tower. It's just a really nice place to visit, and especially at this time of year because the herons are nesting now.
Look at the heron there, Emily. Look, it's flying right there.
Whoa, cool. Bigger than me. I think it was a wild heron.
No, you can't ride on a heron.
Why? Because with children. For 4-year-olds. Can you go back to hiking?
And so I will include in this little part some pictures and some videos to show you the herons and then some of the other wildlife that we spotted. Well, wildlife. I'm talking about ducks and geese. And flicker making a call. I had never heard a flicker make before. We get northern flickers in our backyard at the feeder all the time, and I recognize one call that they make, and then some in the spring they often will drum to mark their territory or attract a mate or something. Sometimes you hear what literally sounds like a jackhammer, and that's the flickers. But I had never heard this particular call, so I finally, after much patience, managed to capture it on video, so I'll put it in here too. It started out kind of overcast and got sunnier as the morning went on, and so we had a really nice time watching the, looking at the herons and walking around, climbing up the tower, and then going into the visitors center. This is a sun clock, so if you stand on the month of the year. And April tells you the time. It's just after 12 o'clock. This morning I went on the website for the Heron Reserve and printed off some fun facts, some things I didn't know. So there are currently 95 active nests in the colony. Herons choose a new mate each year, and nest selection and courting starts in early March. So they lay 3 to 5 eggs in late March, and they hatch about a month later. The incubation period is 28 days. The chicks take 10 weeks to go from a newly hatched chick to a fully fledged juvenile, and on average, 1 chick per nest survives. Eagles are a major predator, eating the eggs and chicks, and there's actually a large eagle nest that is located right next to the colony, and while we were there, we saw 1 eagle swoop in among the nests, and another eagle just sat in a tree nearby the whole time we were there. It says, however, having 1 territorial eagle in their midst actually protects the herons from further predation from outside raptors. So I guess with 1 nest there, it deters other birds like eagles or hawks, I guess, to come in. It says that raccoons can climb the trees to get the eggs or chicks also. In this colony, all of the trees are protected by fencing to keep the beavers from bringing them down. And it said to watch for otters playing in the water in front of the nesting site, which we did not see, but it says also watch for woodpeckers, swallows, mergansers, and wood ducks. And we did see northern flicker and also some wood ducks and some Canada geese. So it was a really neat day. I hope you enjoy a little glimpse of it through the pictures and video that I will insert in and around this talk. So let's see what else. We got back, or I got back to curling last Thursday night, and I hadn't curled in a month, so I was kind of nervous about it, but actually had a pretty decent game myself and was able to kind of just get back into it. I don't know why I picked up this pencil, but I'm going to put it down, so I'm not doing this with it. So 2 more weeks to go. We've been watching a lot of curling this week once again, and then that's the last of it now. It was the men's World Championships, and Canada's team made it through to the semifinals and then the finals, but unfortunately came in 2nd place to Sweden. But it was cool to have someone to cheer for the entire week, and for the most part the team played really well, so that was very enjoyable. Now I don't know what we're going to watch because other than that, we don't watch tons of TV together. The odd series we record on Netflix or something, or not record on Netflix, that we have on Netflix. But anyway, we've enjoyed the curling this last month or so because there have been both the national championships and then the world championships. So kind of excited about getting out into the yard. We have we had a new deck built last year. So now we need to stain it. Unfortunately, now that I'm really anxious to get out there and do it, the weather's not cooperating. So I have to wait for a dry spell. I can get out there and stain it. And one reason I'm really excited about it is that over the weekend, we bought privacy screens for either end of the deck. So we have on one end, our neighbor's kitchen window is literally right beside where our main seating area is, and for both our sakes, I want to put something up in between so that they don't feel invaded by having us out there, and that way we have some privacy too while we're out there. And then the other privacy screen on the other end of the deck will just give us some separation between ourselves and the other neighbors, although their house and their own deck is quite a ways away from ours. So what I'm planning to do is we found these screens. They are like metal posts, but they're vinyl panels that you slide into them. So no painting necessary or repainting necessary. They should weather well in the weather, and just should be easy to install once we get the deck stained and be able to drill the screws into it to mount them. So excited about seeing that happen. And then I'm going to plant some sort of climbing plant on either one. I'm thinking about I might do clematis on one, and then I'm looking at maybe doing honeysuckle on the other. My plans also, we have two fairly small garden beds that are adjacent to one area of the deck. And my idea is to plant things that are attractive to butterflies and hummingbirds there, so that's something we can enjoy while we sit out there. And so I know a friend of ours has honeysuckle. We were there one night for a barbecue, and this hummingbird was there like constantly. So I'm looking at maybe doing honeysuckle on that one, and then yeah, find some other plants that are hummingbird, especially hummingbird friendly. So now that spring's here, and now that we've got those privacy screens ready to go, I'm just really anxious to get all that done so that we can enjoy them. And I think that's about it. It really was, other than our little outing to the Heron Reserve and a little bit of shopping over the weekend, there wasn't a whole lot going on. So I apologize. I feel like this episode is going to probably, once I edit it, be kind of patchy because my camera shut off a couple times. I've just had to feel a little bit not out of sorts, but just out of sync. Things have not flowed as smoothly as they often do. So hopefully it's not too apparent in the editing, and that you enjoy it anyway. So thanks for, see what I mean? Thank you to everyone for tuning in. If this is your first time, check back again. I'm usually a little less scatterbrained than this. I should be back with you next week. It looks like Tuesday because I have appointments on Monday and Wednesday and curling on Thursday. So it looks like Tuesday will be the day if all goes well. So take care until then. I hope you're all well. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.